Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Became a Predator. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
While caring for an unconscious Sasuke on his back, Naruto was panting heavily and coughing heavily every few seconds due to the blood that flooded his lungs from the Chidori that the Uchiha had hit him with. It was close, but a last-second change in the Rasengan trajectory allowed the blonde to knock his opponent into the statue of Uchiha Madara and into involuntary nap land. Damn Teme, when we get back, I'm requesting you go on a diet because you're too damn heavy, Naruto said as he stumbled near the gates, barely holding the boy on his back. Naruto saw the crowd of people waiting for him as soon as he entered the gates, and the blonde thought that this time he had won the hearts of the village. After all the abuse he endured as a child, perhaps they would see that he was not the monster they painted the poor blonde as, and that Uzumaki Naruto was not the Kyuubi. Unfortunately, Naruto was more wrong than they were. Look. Look what the demon did to the Uchiha. Kill him. Kill the demon to avenge the Uchiha. Exclaimed one civilian as others cried out in unison and moved to attack the boy while saving the Uchiha. Or they would have if it weren't for the sand barrier that swarmed to protect the blonde and Gaara, who was now standing beside him, looking very angry. Come Naruto-san. I will assist you in transporting the Uchiha to the hospital and providing the necessary protection from these idiots, Gaara said as he used his sand to transport them to the hospital while the mob yelled for justice and followed the two demon vessels. Konoha Hospital at some point later. Tsunade looked down at the bandaged broken body of the blonde on the medical bed in front of her, seeing the injuries the Uchiha had inflicted on the boy, and the Chidori to the chest that filled the Sannin Hokage with rage at their shared sensei. Who was she kidding? Hitaki didn't teach Naruto anything other than tree walking, and the academy's teachers clearly disliked the boy enough to disrupt his learning. Something she would undoubtedly change once this was over. At least the Gaki didn't die from that damn necklace like Dan or Nawaki. Naruto, it appears you are strong enough to break its curse, Tsunade thought as she left to deal with the traitor, but had made it clear that only Shizune and herself would look after Naruto. She didn't trust them any more than Naruto's necklace. If what Gaara told her was true, she should have trusted the necklace more and the people in the village less. Sakura was visiting the Uchiha at the same time she left Naruto to heal, and she noticed the boy had a few cuts, bruises, and broken bones from slamming into that statue at high speed via Rasengan. Aside from that, Sasuke appeared to be fine and stable due to the heavy sedation, though the scowl on Uchiha's face didn't seem to want to leave. Bad Sasuke. Take a look at all of these injuries. Naruto Baka is entirely to blame. Well, when I see him, I'm going to show him the meaning of pain and pound that Baka into paste, Sakura thought as she affectionately touched Sasuke's face and pulled her hand back when the door opened to reveal an angry Tsunade glaring daggers at her crush. So, here lies the all-powerful traitor Uchiha Sasuke, and in all his proud spoiled glory. How pathetic, Tsunade said as she examined the boy and ignored the pink-haired girl's glare. Hokage-sama. Please come quickly. There is a mob at the hospital doors, and they are all demanding that the Uzumaki boy be killed, said a nurse, one of the few who didn't despise Naruto, as she noticed the Sannin scowling even more. That's it. I'm done with these fools, Tsunade said as she walked past the nurse and to the hospital's main entrance. Why couldn't they just leave him alone? Secret Council chambers, later. Do we have the Fire Daimyo's approval? Homura asked as he saw Danzo nod his head and produce the orders signed by the Fire Daimyo himself, complete with the Fire Daimyo's seal. Yes. The lies we told him secured our actions to go completely unopposed in this matter, and soon after we will have the ultimate secret weapon capable of making us the superior village in all the elemental countries, Danzo said, as he told his allies in this to set up a much-needed council meeting with the Hokage and clan heads to ensure they got what they needed. Soon, he'd have control of the village, and then all of the elemental countries would follow. 3 days later. Why have you called a meeting for? You realize I have important patients waiting for me at the hospital, a Uchiha to keep in check for his traitorous actions, and let's not forget the very boy you all despise responsible for bringing him back to the leaf instead of into Orochimaru's boy-loving arms, Tsunade said, as she saw them scowl at her for that, and almost instantly it went away with a sense of calmness in them, as yes. Speaking of that boy being responsible for some things, Danzo said, it has come to our attention by the Fire Daimyo himself that Uzumaki Naruto be banished immediately from the leaf right after he is cleared to leave the hospital. What? On what grounds is this even being allowed? Tsunade asked as she was handed the scroll and read the contents before unleashing killer intent on them for the obvious lies written in this thing about why the boy should be banished. Civilians fighting for the leaf. Shinobi fighting leaf. Insubordination of a leaf shinobi of Chunin or higher rank. Collaborating with the leaf's adversaries. Failure to eliminate the leaf's enemies. The leaf has a damaging property. Disrespecting the Hokage's authority. Okay, Tsunade could see that last one as partially true, but only in terms of calling her old sensei old man and herself being called granny. But that was the end. As you can see, the Fire Daimyo is less than pleased with how Naruto is being left uncontrolled in the village, and has seen fit to remove the boy from the leaf entirely, Danzo said, smirking. But the man is merciful, as if you notice, the man has also decreed that if the blonde has shown some form of control over his life during his banishment, he will be allowed back into Konoha, and reinstated as a shinobi of. Naruto would soon be unleashed on Tsunade, and the old war hawk knew that the slug princess would not be able to fight the blonde. These are lies. Naruto has been fighting civilians? More like they've been fighting him. Arguing with leaf shinobi? How about getting his so-called sensei to train him and getting someone else less suited for it? Said Tsunade, as she noticed they were irritated by this and hadn't expected her to fight the blonde on the matter. Nonetheless, with so many events interfering with paperwork processing, appeals of the Fire Daimyo's decisions can take weeks, months, or even years. It is your right to do so, Hokage-sama, but until then, the boy must be banished, and if he is not out of the village soon after he recovers, he will be considered an enemy of the leaf before being executed, Kaharu said as she saw Tsunade poised to smash her head clean off her body and resisted the urge to squeeze her hands together under the table. And what about Uchiha Sasuke? Don't tell me he'll get a slap on the wrist just because he's the last Uchiha in the village? Asked Tsunade, who noticed the two councils about to speak on the subject when Hiashi rose from his seat and glared at everyone to keep their mouths shut. No, Hokage-sama. Because Uchiha Sasuke is a member of a clan, this falls under clan matters, and all clan matters are handled by clans of the leaf when one does harm to others. The Uchiha's traitorous actions threaten the clans within Konoha, and he will be judged by us and pay for his crimes by our ruling, Hiashi said as he saw the two councils protest, and silenced them with his. Really? Then, if I may ask, what is your decision regarding him? Tsunade asked as she noticed many of them smirking, and it was Inuzuka Sume who rose this time. We, the clan heads, hereby deprive Uchiha Sasuke of his clan rights, as well as that of his clan, from having status in the leaf, and demote him to that of what he would most likely consider, commoner, status. Additionally, the Uchiha estates are to be demolished to make way for new housing projects, and to help the village fill the hole that Uchiha Itachi left when killing all the former clan. And finally, all funds. This isn't fair. That demon fox and Orochimaru manipulated Uchiha Sasuke. Exclaimed a civilian councilman, as Tsunade glared at him, making the man quiver in fear. While I disagree with the first part of your statement, I won't deny that the curse seal my former teammate gave Sasuke did give the boy a hard push into the range of psychotic behavior, and even as we speak Jiraiya is sealing it away in a more effective manner with the boy's bloodline to follow given the clan head's ruling in this matter, Tsunade said, as she saw the two councils protesting and were silenced by her fist. Damn. If I go to the Fire Daimyo now to overturn Tsunade's decision, she'll use it to appeal the decision regarding the Kyuubi brat, and challenge it with proof I don't have other than the words of a few spiteful villagers, Danzo thought, knowing that alone would not be enough to keep the Fire Daimyo from changing his decision, and probing deeper into the hole he had dug for himself if caught. Danzo, on the other hand, had no intention of being apprehended. This meeting has now been adjourned. I have to see my patients, and for one of them, I have to break his heart knowing this village backstabbed him for his loyalty. You just better hope this doesn't come back to bite you all in the ass, said Tsunade, as she left to carry out her duties, which she would despise. Several days later, hospital. Hey Naruto, how does it feel to be the one to complete such a difficult high-ranking mission? Shikamaru asked as he approached his good friend, winced inwardly at his bandaged condition. Not bad, though the food tastes horrible. Want to switch places? Said Naruto, as he saw Shikamaru wave his hands up defensively and answer the question with a no. As much as I'd like to be on a bed looking at a ceiling picturing clouds, I'll pass due to the beating you got and just leave it at that, Shikamaru said as he saw the blonde laugh and then saw Naruto writhe in pain. How did Sakura react to the news? Is she happy? Said Naruto as he noticed Shikamaru raise an eyebrow at his failure to use the chan suffix with the girl's name, and before he could respond, the door to the room was kicked open, and the said girl looked very angry with him. You. How dare you do that to Sasuke-kun? I asked you to bring him back, Naruto baka. Not crush his body into powder, yelled Sakura, shocking both boys in the room because Naruto was more injured than Sasuke. I had to fight him, Sakura, because if I hadn't, he would have escaped to sound and gone straight to Orochimaru, said Naruto, who noticed Sakura wasn't listening and appeared to be about to kill him. Shut up, baka. Just shut up, you worthless baka. I hate you. I hate everything about you. You're nothing. Always will be nothing, yelled Sakura, before cocking her hand back to slap him, but was stopped by Shikamaru using his shadow possession jutsu, which prevented the limb from connecting. Are you crazy? Naruto is in worse shape than Sasuke because, unlike your oh-so-precious Uchiha a few corners down, he held back and only used his skills to knock the traitor unconscious, Shikamaru said, pulling Sakura back and now calling for help. I don't care, exclaimed Sakura as she battled the shadow possession jutsu and Naruto tried to get away from her despite his injuries. Well, you should, Gaara said, having heard the cries for help and having helped the Hokage scare away the angry mob of Naruto haters who had come here to see the blonde. Only to discover this happening. How appropriate. A monster helping another monster. I hope you two go to hell, Sakura exclaimed as she was finally freed from Shikamaru's jutsu and exited the room, glaring at the blonde in the room before leaving its presence. Damn. This is why I keep telling people women are troublesome, but does anyone take me seriously, or even believe me when I tell them that? No. Sighed Shikamaru as he sat in a nearby chair and looked at Naruto with a depressed expression, as if his parents had died. You hate it when people call you that, like I do, so why don't you strike back? Gaara asked, seeing Naruto look at him with sad blue eyes that nearly made the newly appointed Kazekage flinch. And then what? I fight back, the people will think the seal is weakening, and kill me if they don't have me locked up. Unlike you, Gaara, I don't have a shield, and my seal was made to keep my demon's power under wraps, whereas yours was made to do the opposite, Naruto said, not caring that Shikamaru was in the room hearing this, and figured that the lazy Nara would figure it out sooner rather than later. Point taken. Get better and stronger, Naruto. I have a feeling you'll need it for the harsh upcoming trials, Gaara said as he nodded and left, leaving the curious Nara in the room with the blonde. Shikamaru sighed as he saw Naruto nod his head and said, I take it the demon he's referring to has 9 tails and looks like a fox? You've seen it, Shikamaru, the glares, why the people want me dead, and even more so on my birthday. I've stared into the face of death so many times, I feel like the Shinigami is trying to get me, and the fox in his belly like he's in a hurry, Naruto said as he noticed Shikamaru shiver, and the blonde didn't blame him. Troublesome. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated. What's next? Exclaimed Shikamaru, as he tuned in to see the door open again, this time to see Tsunade enter, looking very sad. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I've got some bad news. The councils, with the support of the Fire Daimyo, has ordered that you be banished from the leaf until further notice, Tsunade said as she noticed Naruto's eyes widen, and Shikamaru shot up out of his chair faster than any Nara in history. What? Why? The retrieval team succeeded in their mission to bring back Sasuke. How can you even banish a shinobi for succeeding in a mission like this? Shikamaru asked, looking at Naruto, who had a look that was a mix of sadness, pain, and, most importantly, if not clearly, anger. So they want me gone, huh? After all the years I put up with them, they kick me out and say get lost for doing the mission I was assigned? Well, I say fine. Fuck them. Fuck them all and their precious Uchiha. I hope they choke on that small cock the Tamiz got shoved up their mouths, said Naruto, ignoring the 2 people in the room who were shocked by his choice of words. Well, it wasn't a total loss because the clan heads decided to punish Sasuke rather than let the 2 councils do it, which would have been nothing, and took away Sasuke's status along with his clan from being a clan altogether. Any privileges he may have had before have been revoked, meaning he's now a simple, commoner, compared to the other clans, and I'm having Jiraiya seal up the. Good. Let's see if this village can do anything right without me around to do all the legwork now, said Naruto, despite what Kakashi put in his reports to inflame the glory of the Tamiz not-so-grand greatness, as their precious Uchiha no longer could use his precious bloodline, and being unable to make little Uchiha bastard babies. What are you going to tell the others? Tsunade asked, knowing that many of them would want answers and that others, like Sakura, wouldn't cry over him leaving. Goodbye for one, other than that. Nothing, Naruto said, feeling depressed again, and seeing Tsunade flinch. Well, you've healed enough that even I have to release you from the hospital and send you home to clear out, Tsunade said, knowing that the fox had done a good job of healing the boy and that he would be back to full strength soon. Great. The moment I leave, the people here will beat me up so badly that I'll be back in this room, and then those bastards will have an excuse to punish me for not leaving right away, Naruto said as he got out of bed and put on clothes Tsunade had gotten him that didn't have a lot of orange on it. She thought crimson and black were more appropriate. Has Kakashi come to see you? Tsunade wondered, having not seen the man since Naruto was in the hospital and not knowing where he was. No, probably by the memorial stone before getting ready to hover around his favorite student while pleading apology after apology for not training him better. You know he actually passed me over during the Chunin exams for Ebisu? Ebisu. That lowly closet pervert wanted to teach me chakra control for the exams. Why the hell do I even need it when I have too much chakra to control in the first place? Bastard, Tsunade said as she prepared to teach Kakashi a lesson and make him suffer for it. Don't worry, Granny. I've got friends outside the village who will gladly take me in and help me with my training, Naruto said, smirking at her and seeing the Hokage's eyes soften. You have 2 days to leave Naruto, but one of them is today, and you've already spent the majority of it here, Tsunade said as she saw him nod and then smirk because he was going to have to give the village a going-away gift before leaving. So all I've got is a day and a half, plenty of time, Naruto said as he made his way to the window and opened it before leaving. You're not leaving the front way? Tsunade asked, seeing him return her gaze with a look that said, you're joking, right? Those fools are just waiting for me to come out the front door so they can put me back in here. Why should I give them any satisfaction? Said Naruto, leaping out the window and into the village below to prepare the leaf for what was to come soon after his absence. Naruto may only have a day and a half, but people often overlook his mastery of a single jutsu that can even the odds in any fight. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Apartment of Naruto. When Naruto arrived cautiously at his so-called home, he noticed that it had miraculously escaped the villagers' attention, and when he entered, he saw Hitaki Kakashi now looking quite serious when the Junin turned to face him. Of course, Naruto was on high alert and prepared to replace himself with one of his shadow clones already deployed throughout the village if his so-called sensei attempted anything. Naruto, I need you to come with me to speak to the Hokage. I need you to convince her to stop Jiraiya-sama from sealing away Sasuke's Sharingan eyes. Exclaimed Kakashi, as the Junin was confused by Naruto's angry stare. You want me to ask Granny to spare that Teme? After what he did to me? Sasuke put not 1, but 2 Chidoris through my chest sensei, and I believe you were the only one outside of the Uchiha clan to make one. Why the hell would I even help you keep him active when his mind is already off the reservation? Said Naruto, as he saw Kakashi's eyes widen, then narrow, and ball his fists in anger. Because he is your teammate Naruto. I thought you were thick in the skull, but now I find out you're worse of a baka than I thought, and now I see you are lower than trash, said Kakashi as he begins to walk out, but is stopped by Naruto's bone-crushing grip and slammed hard into the wall before the blonde stared at him with anger written all over his face. I am lower than trash? I am lower than trash? I saved your ass from Momochi Zabuza when Sasuke quivered up in a ball like a baby. I saved Inari's family from Gado's thugs while you were getting your ass handed to you on the bridge. I inspired the people of Wave to fight for what was rightfully theirs. I stopped Subabku no Gaara from unleashing his demon, which was going to destroy the village, all while. Bravo, Kit. The one good thing you've done with my power aside from beating that damn Uchiha brat with it, Kyuubi exclaimed, having awoken from its slumber just in time to see its vessel do this while drawing on demonic chakra. Well, Fox, get used to it. I'm going to make the people of Konoha cry in their sleep and wailing like babies just to have me back in the leaf to defend them, Naruto thought as he made some more clones to help him gather his belongings and noticed Kakashi looking up at him with his one wide eye. What are you doing, Naruto? Said Kakashi, as he noticed the small group of Narutos begin packing up their belongings, and the original looking even angrier at him. You don't know? Kami, you are so stupid, it's almost pathetic that you are so focused on the Uchiha, which has blinded you to the point where you can ignore me this much. Hell, the decision to have me banished from the leaf came first, and the Uchiha's punishment in having his bloodline sealed came second, and yet here you are to have me save the traitor from his punishment without even knowing, much less caring, about the very person. Naruto was so angry with Kakashi, and Kakashi was so dazed, that neither of them noticed the shadow figure of a certain Hyuga girl who had heard the entire conversation through an open window with a nearby tree with a branch extending close by. Naruto-kun has been exiled? No. Hinata thought as she dashed off to the Hokage's office, where she would demand an explanation from her. Hinata was overjoyed that Naruto had resurrected with Uchiha Sasuke, and the fact that he had resurrected at all made her heart skip 1,000 beats. The joy was short-lived, however, when Hinata noticed an angry mob forming to attack Naruto before Gaara intervened and took the two boys to the hospital for treatment of their injuries. She didn't understand why they were so cruel to Naruto. Even as a child, Hinata saw only goodness in the boy's heart, and a desire to grow strong in order to protect everyone around him. Now Hinata was hearing how, after everything that had happened in such a short period of time, the boy she had long admired, found inspiration in, and even a Nindo to believe in was being kicked out of the village for completing his mission. It didn't make sense to the girl, and the only person who could possibly help Hinata make sense of it was the Hokage herself. After 2 days, Naruto sighed heavily, as he was now outside of the village, having said his goodbyes to those who mattered. Lee had to be restrained from going ballistic as well as sedated with enough tranquilizer to put down an elephant, and was now on his own against his enemies, both internal and external, who wanted him dead. It was fine with Naruto because it meant he could finally go out and find people to train him in various arts and get stronger so he could show those jerks what it was like to kick out a hero of the leaf. At least I have you, Fox. You may be a demon, but if I die, you die, and if you want to live, you must assist me in becoming stronger. Do you want the Shinigami to have the last laugh? Naruto thought as he leapt from tree to tree because he didn't trust the roads and felt more at home in the trees anyway. Not to mention, I have a score to settle of my own, and you are going to help me make it happen, Kyuubi said, but the last part was more to himself than to Naruto, and he was quite pleased with his vessel as of late. Such thoughts were dashed when a hail of shuriken landed to Naruto's left, which the blonde avoided by ducking behind a nearby tree and peering out to see which way the weapons were thrown. Narrowing his eyes, the young blonde noticed an Anbu squad with the kanji for root written on it, and the captain of this squad was holding his sword. Uzumaki Naruto, by Danzo's orders, we are here to bring you to him for a secret position within his organization, and turn you into a secret weapon for the good of the leaf, said the root captain, as he waited for the blonde to make his decision, bracing himself for a fight if Naruto chose to resist. Really? Well, you can just tell that Baka Danzo he can kiss the fattest part of my ramen-loving Kyuubi sealed within ass, said Naruto, who had been preparing an explosive tag during the man's conversation, and threw it in the direction of the root captain before disappearing deeper into the trees. The tag went off before hitting the root captain, which was Naruto's intention from the start, as it would scatter the group and allow him to get further away from his pursuers by the time they could regroup. The plan didn't last long, however, as the root Anbu chasing him caught up quickly and were now attacking him with various jutsus whenever they saw an opportunity to aim them at his back. We need a plan, Kit. Your body is still not 100%, and fighting them would only make things worse, Kyuubi said, as he saw his vessel still needed another full day of healing, which required not being attacked by anyone the entire time. I have no idea. Damn, Tami's Chidori is still hurting my chest, Naruto thought as he dodged a fireball jutsu and then a water cannon jutsu that shattered a nearby tree. Earth style. Ground shifting jutsu, exclaimed the root captain as he moved away from the trees and dived to the ground to use the jutsu that uprooted the trees surrounding Naruto. The blonde was thrown off his tree just moments after his feet had touched the branch, with the end result sending Naruto skidding until he landed near a cliff with the bottom looking bottomless and dark. Naruto saw it, as he saw the root shinobi all surrounding him now in a half-circle formation, with his choice of death being at the hands of them, or the fall from the cliff below. Fox. Just a quick question. Is there a chance I'll survive if I fall off this cliff and avoid being caught by these guys? Thought Naruto as he noticed Kyuubi looking at him with narrowed eyes and a sad expression. What kind of question is that? Granted, dying by falling off the cliff would be preferable to dying at their hands, but I will not have that even considered, and demand that you fight them to the end, said Kyuubi, as the fox was more than willing to give the blonde enough chakra to wipe them out and claim victory by killing everyone around them. Okay, fine. Okay, then, thought Naruto as he quickly created shadow clones and engaged the root shinobi around him. While the battle was difficult, Naruto appeared to be gradually winning as he continued to create shadow clones to overwhelm his opponents, and even killed a few of them after synchronizing with his clones to strike vital spots with kunai. The original hit the root captain with Rasengan, sending him flying into fallen trees behind him, but the root shinobi had already thrown an explosive tag at the ground where Naruto was, sending the blonde flying over the cliff after Naruto tried to flee. By this point, the Naruto shadow clones had been dispersed by the explosion, and the blonde had given up hope of substituting with them, falling off the cliff while attempting to use Kyuubi's chakra to grab onto the wall. However, the Kyuubi's chakra was too powerful to hold onto anything, and his body was speeding up, making things even more difficult. Then Naruto was swallowed up into the darkness below, and that was all the boy saw for a while. Konoha right now. The people had celebrated Naruto's banishment as soon as word got out, which was only minutes after the blonde's body was out of the village's walls, and cheered on how they were free of the demon spawn. The day after the party, however, things began to go wrong for everyone in the village who despised Naruto, and many were now weeping in misery. When Naruto was preparing to leave the leaf, his shadow clones were hard at work making sure that the people of Konoha did not enjoy his departure, and that their joyous cries would turn into somber cries. The first thing he had his shadow clones do was do some plumbing work in the various homes, businesses, and other buildings throughout the leaf to set off alarms at predetermined times. As a result, all natural waste would be clogged, rerouted, and stored in places where people would not expect to find their feces. When people went to take showers, use sinks to wash their hands, or do anything other than walk, they were greeted with the waste from the previous day's partying. That wasn't the end of it, though, because Naruto wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't do more, which he did by backing up Konoha's sewer system. The ground beneath the village had exploded at several key street junctions due to the high pressure of backed-up plumbing, causing the natural waste of the village to spray everywhere. In short, Naruto had made the people of the village literally feel what he had felt figuratively his entire life by the people of the village, and he regretted ever being treated in that manner. As in shit. Naruto had his shadow clones plant various stink bombs mixed with difficult-to-remove paint-based explosives in various buildings that would go off on a timer to express his rage at the village. When the bombs exploded, the shops that had kicked him out or had overcharged Naruto absurd prices for crappy quality equipment were ruined to the point of tearing the buildings down, though given the Leaf's involvement in the war, this would cause a lot of red tape because funding for such construction projects would be halted to gear the village up for war. In short, those businesses would have to either accept the damage, not to mention the stench, or permanently close their doors. Not to mention that Naruto had obtained certain shops' bookkeeping records and placed them on Tsunade's desk with a note instructing her to compare them to the Leaf's overall financials. It helped when Naruto examined the books himself, with Kyuubi assisting him in highlighting certain sections of the book that seemed off. Now said people, some of whom were civilian council members, were sweating like pigs in her office, looking like children caught by their mother looking at a dirty magazine, and some stammering words as children do when caught. Some couldn't even speak in full sentences, but those who could mumbled or spoke in gibberish in response to Tsunade's presence, with Shizune beside her waiting for a response. If Taunton had been drunk, they would have gotten a better one. I've been going over these records of yours from the shops you run from a very good individual who brought this to my attention, and do you know what I find when I read them? You've been writing numbers that don't add up to what the Leaf records hold, and I noticed a specific pattern in all of them. You've been selling poor quality goods at outrageous prices, all to one person who is no longer in the village responsible for making you feel quite literally in the shit. Shizune thought to herself, as if they deserve mercy, as she saw Tsunade narrow her eyes at them and finally slam her fist down in anger, having had enough of their false begging for forgiveness. Silence. I've had enough of your whining to me when you don't deserve a single ounce of it. Anbu. Take these maggots out of my sight and tell Ibiki to go all out on them. "Don't forget to tell Anko the same damn thing," exclaimed Tsunade as she noticed the group still pleading for mercy and being led away by the Anbu. "It's going to take a long time to clean up the mess Naruto left behind. People are still cursing him and wishing for his death, and what's worse is that when people tried to destroy his home, they set off some kind of tripwire, causing the apartment complex to blow up with debris scattering everywhere on everyone near it. A large group of people are in the hospital from the building debris mixed with shards of glass, and some have broken bones from having larger portions of. It doesn't matter, Shizune. They can have all the doctors Naruto had at the hospital, who were always delayed, and give them piss-poor medication. By the time Naruto comes back, these people will be on their hands and knees begging the Gaki for forgiveness," Tsunade said, as she noticed that only a few places were spared Naruto's wrath, and those were the homes of the people Naruto called. "I hear Gaara is angry with us and is going to withdraw from the alliance before telling the Wind Daimyo everything," Shizune said, as she saw Tsunade's smirk and knew that this would help speed up the appeals process in getting Naruto back in Konoha. Those Baka Council members think they have everything figured out in removing Naruto from the Leaf, but they forget that Naruto is a hero to people outside the village, and those people are very influential. If they cut ties with Fire Country, then the Fire Daimyo will come here, asking us why so many people now hate him for authorizing Naruto's banishment, and want answers that he won't like," Tsunade said, as she saw one. "Speaking of which, some of them want you to send out an Anbu team to kill Naruto and claim he's an enemy of Konoha for it," Shizune said as she saw Tsunade frown and stomp over to her chair to sit. "The only team I would send would be the rookies, and only after the banishment has been removed by the Fire Daimyo," said Tsunade, as she went back to doing her work, and wished the blonde the best of luck. Unknown location, unknown time frame. As consciousness returned to Naruto, he opened his eyes and saw darkness all around him as he pulled himself up from the ground. At first, the blonde thought he was back in his mindscape, like when Jiraiya pushed him off the cliff to activate the fox's power, and wondered if the fox had brought him here to be yelled at again. Naruto soon realized, however, that he was not in his mindscape, but rather semi-deep within the gaping hole at the bottom of the cliff. He had fallen down, and had landed on what felt like metal. Looking around while trying to adjust his eyes, Naruto looked around to see he was on a large metal object, and after some stumbling found a way into the strange structure. Wow! This location is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before, Naruto thought as he looked at the inside of the structure and the strange designs of some strange culture. I don't believe it. I thought they were all gone or destroyed, Kyuubi said as he saw what Naruto saw and recognized these markings as well as the situation they were in. Do you have any information about this, Kyuubi? I sensed the fox nod and was about to hear an explanation on the subject, Naruto thought. Indeed. Long before the elemental countries existed, there was a race of beings from beyond the stars, known as Yautja, who hunted only the most worthy of beings for sport, and honor of their clans, with the latter similar to what you find in some shinobi villages today. They used to come to this world to prey on human and any other species this world had to offer that they felt was worthy of hunting, Kyuubi said, as he saw weapons, masks, and other. But you thought they'd all vanished or been destroyed. What exactly did you mean? Thought Naruto, as he felt there was more to it than that, and was now looking at a device on the wall with a glowing light inside that was too tempting to ignore. I meant here on this planet. When me and my kind first roamed the world, the Yautja quickly realized this world was too much for them, and the human race had learned to use chakra, and had altered the way things were done, since any Yautja caught would use a powerful bomb to blow themselves up, so they decided to quarantine the planet and listed off limits for any future hunts due to the many threats the planet's more dangerous species was. There are so many things here that could put any shinobi to shame. Could you teach me how to use this, Kyuubi? Thought Naruto as he noticed that some of the items here were not as badly damaged by time as one might expect. Possibly. This ship appears to be the last one to arrive before the quarantine was imposed. It had to have happened right after Jubi was sealed and the Sage of the Six Paths used chakra. The weapons here are meant to last a long time even after being used in constant battles, so everything should be in perfect working order. Kyuubi saw Naruto nod and looked at the device on the wall again before walking towards it with a strong desire to look inside. But will I be able to put it to use? Much less a fraction of it? Pondered Naruto as he gazed into the hole of the device on the wall, which morphed into something else, and then grabbed his skull with metallic hands while a chair rose from the ground beneath him, forcing the blonde to sit down with both his hands now restrained. "What did you do, Kit?" exclaimed Kyuubi, seeing what was going on and wondering what would happen to its vessel. "I swear. Nothing. I don't suppose you know what this thing that's latched onto my face is?" thought Naruto as he felt something pierce his skin along the veins of his arm and be injected into his body. Kyuubi, for its part, was going over its memory for what the boy was about to be subjected to in terms of Yautja technology, based on how Naruto was being held down with the device attached to its vessel's face. It didn't take long for Kyuubi to realize what situation Naruto was in, and he wasn't sure whether this was a good or bad thing. "This is a Yautja initiation device, Kit. Certain humans and other intelligent creatures would be considered worthy of joining the Yautja race at some point. This device would inject compatible species with Yautja blood to make them part Yautja, giving them increased speed, strength, and even the ability to see like them." Kyuubi already felt the alien blood mingling with Naruto's, and the seal on its vessel was actually aiding compatibility, while the device on the blonde's face began downloading information into the boy's head. "It stings. It feels like a huge book the size of you is being shoved right down my throat," thought Naruto as he couldn't close his eyes due to the device preventing him from doing so while images, knowledge of various weapons used by the Yautja race against their prey, and the ability to understand the ancient alien writings, language were being fed into him. "This is going to be one wild life you've created for yourself, Kit," Kyuubi said to himself rather than Naruto, who was in pain from the information being forced into his skull. If Naruto wasn't in so much pain, he would have agreed with the fox. Konoha 3 years later. Tsunade sighed as she rummaged through reports from various sources about a demon terrorizing the elemental countries. It appeared to kill anyone in its line of sight, which was strange because no one could see the actual appearance of this so-called demon, and all people had to go on were the remains of the victims left behind. Or, more precisely, what remained of the victims. Those who were killed were hung in trees, and nearly all of them were skinned with their internal organs on the ground above them. Some of the others had not been skinned, but were missing their skulls, and in 2 cases, both the skull and the spinal cord were missing. Many suspected it was the work of a shinobi village using terror tactics to demonstrate their strength, but no village would take credit, despite the 2 councils urging Tsunade to do so, and the killings continued unabated. The missing nin were the first to be slain, as their blood was tested in the shinobi village database, which was used to identify their remains, and it wasn't easy either. Iwa had lost well over 50 shinobi ranging from Chunin to Anbu, Kumo had lost nearly the same number, give or take a few shinobi, and the Leaf had unfortunately lost twice as many. Suna had lost the least in the last 3 years, and many suspected that the Kazekage was to blame. The Kazekage, on the other hand, had lost a close confidant in Baki, who was his sensei during the Chunin exams 3 years ago and was one of the few victims who had lost their skull with spinal column. It had deeply saddened Gaara, because his former sensei had been encouraging him to be the man he should be for Suna, and the Kazekage had put his siblings in charge of determining who had killed their former sensei. Jiraiya had been using his spy network to track down this demon, but it was futile because some of his spies within the network were also killed, and it was clear that this thing didn't want to be found. Even Akatsuki was wary of this foe, as they had attempted to locate it and possibly recruit the figure into their organization to fill the void left by Orochimaru's departure. Even now, the bingo book classified this enigmatic enemy of the elemental countries as an S-class criminal, and it was advised to flee on sight while fighting back if possible. It was one stage higher than the Yondaime received at the end of the previous Shinobi War, and one of the various descriptions of this creature was to look for the eyes that seemed to flash red if only for a moment. That was, of course, if the only survivor, recently acquired by the leaf, was speaking clearly, though the way the man, a shinobi from Iwa of all places, acted indicated that the man was telling the truth. The man had arrived at their door looking like he had been through a meat grinder, as he was heavily bleeding, missing an arm, and screaming for help. When the guards at the gate escorted the, now former, Iwa shinobi directly to the hospital, the man known in several circles as Iwa's Boulder Destroyer was seen by Tsunade for immediate medical treatment, and soon after being stabilized, he told the woman everything about what had caused this to happen to his body. 3 days before. Please don't put me there again. Please don't send me back there for Kami's sake, said Iwa's once great Boulder Destroyer, who was restrained because he was afraid of hurting himself and was being properly sedated to prevent any kind of attempt. We will not. Simply tell us who did it to you. Tsunade didn't think Ibiki or Anko would be needed to get the truth out of the man because he seemed to be afraid of something that would strike him down for a simple lie. It was a demonic being. It was a demon who creates shinobi trophies, said the former Iwa shinobi, who was now crying and seemed to be looking out the window every few minutes, fearful that whatever had done this would come through it to take the rest of his body. Not this time. At least we can get a description of this guy and work from there, Tsunade thought as she saw the man look out the window again, then at her, sweat dripping down his face in waves. Please, please, please don't send me out there. Those red eyes that flashed at me or aimed at me, and he wishes to take my soul. Please. He must have seen something before squirming madly to get free from his bed restraints, said the man as he looked out the window again. Easy, easy, easy. Nobody will be able to reach you while you are here. I'll have some of my best Anbu stationed outside your door to ensure that no one gets to you without their knowledge. Tsunade increased the former Iwa shinobi's sedative drip and waited for him to fall asleep before leaving the room. You guys. Keep an eye out. He's the only one who has survived an attack by this so-called demon right now, and I need Inoichi to run through his mind for answers, Tsunade said as she saw her 2 Anbu guarding the room nodding their heads, knowing that this was not an assignment she could afford to fail. Flashback concludes. Hopefully, we can nail this jerk to the wall, and I can use it to persuade the fire daimyo to bring Naruto back to the leaf, Tsunade thought to herself, calling the blonde Gaki Granny. When word of Naruto's banishment spread, everyone in every country the blonde had ever met began writing letters to her, and the fire daimyo demanded an explanation for why their hero had been banished. The Hokage, of course, blamed the 2 councils and, to a lesser extent, the fire daimyo, but he did mention that the feudal lord agreed to it without either party informing her until it was signed. This caused the fire daimyo's mailbox to fill up with angry letters threatening to cut off trade relations and even go to war if they weren't given a solid legitimate reason for the blonde's exile.
So the fire daimyo did what the councils told him to do and sent the list of reasons the boy was banished in the hope that it would appease all angry parties. Unfortunately, it had the opposite effect, and he received more mail indicating that such allegations were false. So, the fire daimyo launched an investigation into these allegations to discover the true reason Naruto was banished, which the 2 councils attempted to conceal, and ordering that the reason not be spoken under a Sandaime law, that they clearly violated in secret under penalty of death.
Tsunade, on the other hand, had stated that Naruto or the current Hokage of the Leaf could reveal the reason. The 2 councils tried to stop her once more, but the fire daimyo demanded an explanation right away, or risk war with another country. Tsunade then informed the fire daimyo of the Kyuubi's attack on the Leaf. I told him that Naruto was the fox's vessel thanks to the Yondaime, and that the man's dying wish to see the boy as a hero had been denied. In short, Tsunade told him everything, and the man's face was not one of happiness. When the fire daimyo inquired as to why this wish was never granted, none of the councils, clan heads, or even the Hokage herself could look him in the eyes. Tsunade could see the man was only an inch away from summoning all of his samurai to Konoha to begin the liquidation of the village and its removal from the map. It took all of Tsunade's patience and negotiation skills as a child to persuade the fire daimyo not to destroy the village in order to appease those who were Naruto's allies outside of Fire Country. However, Fire Daimyo had decided not to remove Naruto's banishment because he felt it would give the boy a chance to grow without the Leaf Village suffocating him and improve his skills, and that he would remove it later with a full pardon for all the past crimes the councils claimed he had committed. Concerning the people of Konoha, the Fire Daimyo ordered that everyone who had harmed Naruto be punished in front of everyone, and they were ruthlessly whipped for their actions. Despite the people's pleas, none were spared during the week-long whippings, and their family assets were taken away to give to Naruto upon his return, if he wanted to return to the Leaf. Their children, like their parents, were poor, eating from garbage cans and doing whatever they could to survive. The councils had attempted to persuade the Fire Daimyo to have Jiraiya unseal the boy's bloodline, but the man would not hear of it, and instead ordered Sasuke to be locked away in a cell within the village until a time set by the feudal lords himself. Many people in the Leaf were outraged by this, but they could do nothing but incite the wrath of an enraged daimyo and his army of samurai. Hokage-sama, please come quickly. The man from Iwa is missing, and his Anbu bodyguards have been killed. It is thought to be the demon mentioned earlier by the man, said a Chunin as he ran in to report what two nurses walking down the hall had seen. What? The Anbu has been scrambled. Now is the time to secure the village. Tsunade was not about to let this guy infiltrate her village and then flee right under her nose. Konoha Hospital recently. The former Iwa shinobi, also known as the Boulder Destroyer, opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital before looking around to assess his condition and reflecting on what had occurred during his time in the field. It had been a routine B-ranked mission to investigate the disappearance of another squad of 2 Chunin and 3 Junin-level shinobi. His squad had discovered nothing at first, but then a blood trail and signs of a battle were discovered, with the victor unknown. When his team split up, they saw what happened to the other squad, and it would haunt him until the end of his days. The entire team had been skinned, internal organs were on the ground just above the hanging corpses, and the bloody bodies that were once proud Iwa shinobi bore a look of horror. And then my team was hit. It was like the dead team's bodies were the bait, and we fell for the trap it set for us, reflected the former Iwa shinobi, as he witnessed a good friend of his being skewered right through the gut by a pair of blades that went out that same friend's back. Turning his head towards the open window, the Boulder Destroyer saw the beautiful day shining in him and smiled despite everything. The former Iwa shinobi's smile faded when the window's image appeared to be diluted, and for a brief moment, he thought he was still too tired from the sedatives to see clearly. Wait a second. Before he was sedated, the window was closed. So, who threw open the window? Then he heard a small growling sound and saw a flash of those same red eyes for a split second before seeing those same pair of blades. The demon who makes shinobi trophies, said a voice that sounded like a distorted version of the man's own from when he spoke to Tsunade. Mercy. Please be merciful. As the monitoring systems went crazy, the man felt like he was about to have a heart attack. Before the figure could respond, the Anbu outside the room heard the monitoring systems and rushed into the room to see who had scared the Iwa shinobi in most of the elemental countries. The Anbu immediately drew weapons, but were instantly killed when a thunderous sound was heard, and 2 blasts from both shoulders with strange weapons shot chakra at their heads. The creature's attention was drawn to the crippled man, who was approaching for the kill. The body of the boulder destroyer had vanished by the time the nurses arrived to see the dead Anbu, and only a small blood trail leading to the window indicated the demon's escape route. On the outskirts of the leaf present time. Do you see anything, Neji? Hinata asked into her radio as she looked around with her Byakugan and saw nothing. Hinata-sama, not in this area. Be cautious. If this is what Hokage-sama believes it is, you have put yourself in danger, and I would not be able to forgive myself if you died. Neji had been doing everything he could to be the loving cousin Hinata wanted him to be, and had helped her get stronger over the last 3 years. Still, Neji could see Hinata was sad at times, and missed Naruto so much that the Hyuga branch member thought he heard crying from her room at night. The boy remembered Hinata coming to see him in the hospital while he was recovering from the retrieval mission, with tears streaming down her cheeks, and saying, "It's not right." They evicted him. They ejected him from the leaf. Neji had to ask Hinata what she was on about several times. After overhearing Naruto telling Kakashi about his banishment from the leaf and how the female fire shadow couldn't stop it, Hinata told Neji about seeing Tsunade for answers. Needless to say, if Neji had not been injured at the time, the Hyuga prodigy would have gone on a rampage and raised hell regardless of whether he was killed by the cage bird seal. I'll be cautious, Neji. I must be if I am to see Naruto-kun again. Hinata had heard from the Hokage that Naruto's banishment would be lifted soon after this business was finished because any able leaf shinobi could be recalled into service if it was believed that shinobi's skills could be vital to the leaf. Granted, it was all a ruse to get Naruto back, but any reason to have the blonde back in the leaf was good enough for Hinata, aside from his imprisonment or execution, of course, and even more so to see how far she had come. Hinata's thoughts were interrupted when she noticed movement to her right and went to investigate what her eyes saw. I believe I see something, Neji. Simply head east from your current location to meet up. Hinata leapt to another tree, then another, until she discovered her prey was nowhere to be found. Hinata-sama, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 5 minutes, thank you. Neji was on his way to Hinata's location, hoping he wouldn't be too late to help her. Hinata looked around with her Byakugan as she waited, wondering if this demon was immune to the powers of her clan's bloodline. Hinata would have thought more about it, but a volley of kunai from the left came at her, and the Hyuga heiress deflected them all. So your clan's bloodline stories are true. You saw my attack with your eyes and deflected it with your kunai. Kumo will pay me handsomely for you, possibly with a bonus given how many shinobi they've lost in the last 3 years, said a figure emerging from the shadows to reveal none other than Mizuki dressed in shinobi garb. You're a traitor to the leaf, and Naruto-kun has imprisoned you. How did you get away? Hinata said as she took her gentle fist stance and noticed the man's wicked grin. That's something you can thank my old master Orochimaru for. He thinned out Konoha's forces due to the invasion on the leaf years ago, and now this demon running around has made the ranks thinner than ever before. The guards have a tendency to overlook things, which allowed me to escape while also allowing some inmates around me to escape in order to cover my escape plan. Mizuki said this as he saw the girl narrow her eyes at him and him pull out a sword from his old home. I'm not going to let you win, Hinata said as she steadied herself, seeing the man snarl at her with contempt in his eyes. Let's see if you can put a stop to it. From what I recall of your days at the academy with the Kyuubi brat, I have little doubt. Did the Hokage inform you? Tell you what, the damned fox demon was sealed inside that blonde abomination after his banishment? I didn't believe so. Mizuki moved in for the kill using the distraction after seeing Hinata's shocked expression. Hinata, for her part, recovered quickly by blocking Mizuki's sword with her kunai and combining it with the grace of her version of gentle fist. She held him back for a while, but the sword was much more shapely than her kunai, which broke early in their battle and nearly cost her one of her arms in the process. Mizuki noticed this and landed a kick to Hinata's stomach, knocking the girl from the trees to the ground with a loud thud that nearly knocked her out. No. I can't possibly fail here. If I do, everything I've done up to this point will be for naught, and I can't give up now, Hinata reasoned as she attempted to get up, but Mizuki came down and kicked her in the ribs right into a tree.
I'm sure the Hokage wants you pure, but considering how desperate they are, I doubt they'd mind if I gave them you, and a child with the father being none other than me, Mizuki said as he saw the barely conscious girl try to fight, but her body simply didn't have the strength from the fall followed by the kick into the tree trunk behind her.
I wish you were here, Naruto-kun.
No matter what happens now, my heart will always be yours, Hinata thought as she refused to be afraid and stared defiantly into Mizuki's eyes as he approached her.
Any last words you'd like to say while you're still a virgin, my soon-to-be Hyuga bitch?
Mizuki had been stalking her like a predator would its prey and staring at her with hungry eyes.
I hope you die in agony and burn forever in the 9th level of hell, Hinata said as she undid his clothes, seeing him smirk at her. Sorry, bitch, but the only one here who's going to be in pain is Yoa. Mizuki exclaimed as he was struck from behind and a bladed staff of some kind protruded from his stomach. Die! Yelled a deep voice from behind Mizuki as an invisible hand grabbed the man's neck, lifted him up over its head, and ripped the traitorous leaf shinobi in half, splattering blood everywhere. Hinata, for one, was terrified of seeing someone die in such a way, even if it was Mizuki, and was relieved he was no longer alive. Or rather, dying, because the man was only ripped in half at the waist and his upper body was still intact for the time being. You filthy monster. Do you have no idea who I am? I was once a subordinate to the great Orochimaru-sama. Do you have any idea what that man is capable of? He'll destroy you if he finds out and make you beg for death. Mizuki said this as blood poured from his mouth and he looked up at this new foe who had been revealed to him along with Hinata.
The figure's response was to drive the sharp tip of his staff's blade into Mizuki's skull, twist it, and then pull it out again, with the staff retracting to a smaller traveling form.
Turning, the masked figure walked slowly towards Hinata, but without the intentions that the now dead man had in mind, and had stopped a single step from her downed form. Are you going to murder me? Hinata observed him tilting his head in thought as she made sure to remember every aspect of this person in front of her. He was significantly taller than her, which she estimated to be over 6 feet 5 to 6 feet 6 in actual height, and his body was thick and muscled. His legs, like the rest of his body, were wrapped in fishnet, while the rest of him was covered in metallic armor that Hinata had never seen before, and on his right arm was some kind of blade at the wrist. His face was a mystery to her, as it was masked with strange eyeholes that you couldn't see through from the outside, but it was clear that this person could from the other end, and saw that the sides of the mask had what almost looked like whisker marks on it, as well as a single marking on the forehead. Before the figure could respond, she noticed movement behind him, and Neji was about to strike with his version of gentle fist when the intended target, this alleged demon, leapt backward behind the Hyuga prodigy at the last moment. The masked being leapt into the trees with acrobatics that seemed almost inhuman for a being his size. Looking around to see Neji had quickly turned around, carefully maneuvering his body to be Hinata's shield, and readied himself to give his life if necessary for her. You've matured. Each of you, said the figure before vanishing right in front of the two Hyuga with the cloaking device on its wrist and fleeing with what he wanted plus an expected bonus. Hinata-sama, are you okay? Neji turned to face her after ensuring the area was secure and sensing other members of the outside team approaching. Neji, you are correct. I am, and believe it or not, he rescued me from him. Hinata said this while pointing to Mizuki's body and then to Neji's shocked expression. Did anything else happen before then? Neji asked, seeing Hinata was going to need medical attention soon and gently helping her up. No. Mizuki assaulted me. We fought and were defeated.
He was about to
do something very bad when the other one appeared and brutally murdered Mizuki. Hinata agreed, as that was mostly true, with the exception of Mizuki telling her about Kyuubi being sealed within Naruto, but her cousin didn't need to know, and it wasn't her right to tell him or anyone else. Neji nodded in agreement as they began walking back to the village, the other members of the team regrouping with them along the way, and they were all thinking the same thing. Who the hell was this demon roaming the elemental countries?
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.